Assalamu alaikum. Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, everybody.
Alaikum salam. Rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
So, let's start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today, we'll talk about like an introduction. It's going to be an introduction to our Arabic Quran. It's not like the regular Arabic. It's more of an Arabic that's based on the Quran for people that want to learn the Quran. So it's not your everyday Arabic. It's not, let's start with that. There are different types of Arabic, as you might already know. So this course is going to be based on the Quran and on focusing on learning the Quran and understanding the language of the Quran. It's something that's not going to be fully understood. There's nobody that will say, I fully understand the Quran. Only Allah and His beloved messenger understand the Quran the way it's supposed to be understood. But there is what's called Arabic Quran. There is also what's called modern standard Quran, which is the modern standard Arabic, which is the Arabic that people see on the news, that you see on the newspaper, that you see on books usually. There's also colloquial Arabic, which is dialect, which is what people talk, the Arabic that people talk in the streets. For example, if you are in Mauritania, there is a form of Arabic that's called Hassania. So it's a transformed Arabic that have its own pronunciation and its own words sometimes, most of the time. One example would be in Egypt. They don't pronounce the letter Jim, but they say Gim with a Ga. So just that they will say Gasad. That's their language, that's their dialect. But today we want to focus on the essence of Arabic, which is the pure Arabic, and that's the Arabic of the Quran. So to learn any language, we need 4 main skills. Before I continue, you guys can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is 4 main skills, that language skills we need to learn any language, not just Arabic, any language, which is speaking, reading, writing, and listening. The speaking is usually what people focus on, which is people that actually want to learn a language, to talk the language, to speak the language, or to use it in a business environment or in the streets. So that's where speaking comes in. Reading, like academic work, school, or work, reading emails, and so on. All of those skills are what you need to be fluent, consider somebody that's fluent in a language. But we want to focus on the language of the Quran. So do we need speaking for that?
No.
Okay.
No.
How about reading? Do we need reading for the Quran?
Yes.
Yeah.
How about writing? Do we need writing for the Quran?
Yes, I think so.
Why do we need the
No.
writing? It's already written, I think.
Yeah, no.
What about listening?
Yes.
Yeah.
So these are the 2 skills that we will focus on, reading and listening. Reading, because when we open up the book, the Mus'haf, we want to be able to say, when we read it, we want to be able to understand what we are reading. That's the goal that we want to achieve in this class. And listening, we want to one day, after hopefully mastering that reading part, we want to be able to, whenever we hear somebody reciting the Quran, the Imam reciting the Quran, we want to be able to know what he's talking about without having to go back in, because reading is the easiest of the two. You take your time when you are reading, but when you are listening, the Imam is not going to stop and say, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and then wait for you to say, okay, Bismillah. No, he's not going to do that. He's just going to move to the next ayah and then to the next ayah. So it's harder on the one listening, especially if you are beginning, to be able to understand what the Imam is saying. But as time goes on, as you develop your skills, that's going to come in, inshallah. So the Quran, the Quranic Arabic is what we want to focus on, as I mentioned, and reading is our number one skill that we want to grasp, inshallah. So reading, and then we move on to listening. And then maybe for people that want to get further down their Quranic studies, be able to write and develop their thoughts and their understanding about what they are reading, they can do it through writing. And then you want to speak about the Quran at a certain point. You might want to do that, but that's way down the road. To be able to speak the ayah and be able to make yourself understood through that ayah and express your thoughts. That's what we want to get. So it's going to start on reading. So this course is just focused on reading, nothing else. Of course, listening, writing, speaking, all of those are things that will come into play from now and then, because they're all part of the language. So even if you are not focusing on listening or writing or speaking, once you get the reading down, all of those elements will also start to become easier for you. So the way, if you know you're reading correctly, sometimes you will hear a sentence or two and be like, oh, that's what he's talking about. I know that. Sometimes you can even start to write and be able to express your thought just because you got the reading down. But the main focus is reading. So in that aspect, Arabic Quran is easier than learning the Arabic in general, because we have just one focus. If you were learning another language, then we would have, or if you were learning the Arabic as a general language, that would be harder, because we'd have reading and listening, writing and speaking at the same time. And a lot of people are scared of the vocabulary in the Quran. Rightfully so, because it uses ancient language. So even Arab nowadays don't really know a lot of the vocabulary in the Quran. But to understand the Quran better, your number one focus or your number one concern should be the grammar, because grammar is very important in learning how to read the Quran and how to make sense of the ayah in general. As far as vocabulary goes, you'll see a lot of the same repetitive words, and then sometimes you would read two surahs and you will see one saying almost using identical vocabularies. There would be one of two, in every ayah there would be one or two vocabularies that would be new for you. But once you know the general vocabularies, then the rest will be easy. So our number one focus inside the reading is going to be understanding grammar in general. And a lot of people are scared of grammar, not just Arabic grammar, but English grammar, even though it's way easier in English. But Arabic grammar is, I would say, more challenging. But once you get the foundation, the rest becomes easy. So that would depend on two things: on you getting that information down, or the basic fundamentals of grammar, Arabic grammar down, and that's the material and the teacher. You need both of those. So you cannot just open a book and say, okay, I will just follow it on my own. You might get it, but you might miss out on some things as well. But if you have a great teacher that doesn't give you any material, you might get some things and not get others. But if you have both, then your understanding of the language and the grammar will be more complete. So inshallah, we will try and provide great material as well as teaching methods that will make you understand better. So for this course, the requirements are that you are able to read the Quran without having any shame, because we know some people can't read the Quran, but it takes them like great length, great effort just to read one ayah. Hopefully you are not one of those. If you have zero Arabic, this is your first time trying to learn anything related in Arabic, then this class is probably not for you, because you will need to be able to read the Quran. Or if you knew how to read, but it's been ages, thousands of years ago since you last opened up a Mus'haf, you probably don't remember what the surah, the Mus'haf begins with at that point, and then you cannot even read properly, and try to learn a little bit and then come back, inshallah, to be able to follow the course. So hopefully both of you are able to read the Quran without any difficulty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Can one of you read this sentence?
Yeah. أن الله بريء من المشركين ورسوله.
Okay. Does anyone know what it means?
No, I don't know.
Okay. How about you, Habib?
No, I don't know.
No. أن الله بريء من المشركين ورسوله. So this is it says that أن الله, and again, when we are translating the Quran, it's never a complete translation. I mean, we hear often people say lost in translation. A lot of things that are translated are often lost in translation. So especially when it's the Quran, that's something that's not going to be 100% accurate when we translate things. So أن الله means that certainly God, Allah, بريء من المشركين. بريء is far away from, is detracted. He's not even he's free from them, free from their wrongdoing. So when we say bari, I'm innocent from what you are doing, I don't want to be part of it. So that's what bari means. Bari min al-mushrikina is bari from the mushriks, the people that associate God with someone else or something else. Wa rasuluh, and his messenger. So what do you understand from that sentence?
That Allah, what's his name? Disassociates himself with the ones that don't believe.
What about the wa rasuluhu part?
Yeah, the one that don't believe in the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
So does it mean that God dissociate himself from the one that associate people or that associate things with him as well as the messenger, or how exactly?
Sorry, what?
So here, for example, you see that God dissociates himself from the non-believers and the prophets, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. you can see how that sentence can be problematic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the importance of grammar, because here there is little details in Arabic that makes a huge difference in this, in the way people, in the way you are supposed to understand the text. So he says, "Anna Allah bari'un." So sometimes you might want to try to understand why does in the Quran sometimes it says bari'un, sometimes it say bari'an, sometimes it say bari'in. That's where grammar comes into play. So he said bari'un min al-mushrikina wa rasuluhu. He didn't say wa rasulihi or wa rasulahu, wa rasuluhu. When he says wa rasuluhu, in grammar, we would, if you understood grammar, you would know that wa rasuluhu means also that anna Allah bari'un min al-mushrikina wa rasuluhu aydan, wa rasuluhu, and his prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself also dissociates himself from the mushriks. Just because he says wa rasuluhu and not wa rasulihi. If he said wa rasulihi, then it would be open to interpretation as is he included in that or not. But since he said wa rasuluhu, that means wa rasuluhu also is dissociating himself from the non-believers or from the people that associate God with something else. You understand?
Yes.
Okay. So that's why grammar and knowing grammar is so important, just because one haraka can make a huge difference in the way the sentence is understood. So knowing the Quran, and in this journey that we want to go into, it's not an easy task at all, since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, قُلْ لَوْ كَانَ الْبَحْرُ مِدَادًا لِكَلِمَاتِ رَبِّي لَنَفِدَ الْبَحْرُ قَبْلَ أَن تَنْفَدَ كَلِمَاتُ رَبِّي وَلَوْ جِئْنَا بِمِثْلِهِ مَدَدًا. He says, say, O Prophet, if the ocean was made to be an ink for the kalam, for the speech of your Lord, then the ocean would be completely wiped and before you are even able to finish the kalam of Allah, which is the speech of Allah, the speech of your Lord. And even if you were able to finish it, which you are not able to do, even if you did, and even if you brought another ocean to make it an ink, you would also not be able to finish the speech of Allah at that point. And in another ayah in Surah Al-Luqman, it says, وَلَوْ أَنَّمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ مِنْ شَجَرَةٍ أَقْلَامٌ وَالْبَحْرُ يَمُدُّهُ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ سَبْعَةُ أَبْحُرٍ مَا نَفِدَتْ كَلِمَاتُ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. And he said, وَلَوْ أَنَّمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ, even if there were on earth trees, you took all of the trees in the world as a pen. So that means you would take and make each tree, make it a pen, and take as well the ink, the ocean, and make it an ink. And that's after you have added 7 other ocean. Not just take the whole ocean, but take 7 other ocean, make it an ink. You wouldn't be able to finish the kalam of Allah, the speech of Allah. Inna Allah Azizun Hakim. So that tells you the depth in which the Quran is, which is the Quran is the speech of Allah. So that tells you the depth, and you know that in the ocean to this day, there's only not more than 5% that's been explored in the whole world, with all the technology that we got, with all the gadgets, with everything that we have. We are not able to explore. We have not been able to do so more than 5%. So that means there is 95% that's left. That's just an analogy. But the Quran says, even if you brought 7 others of the same ocean, you wouldn't be able to finish the kalam of Allah. And obviously, he's not talking about the what's apparent to us, because we can finish reading the Mus'haf in one day. but it's the depth that he's talking about. How deep can you study the Quran? So if you know all of that, you might be intimidated and say, hey, that's not something I can do, or that's too much of a burden, that's too much of a task. But we don't want to focus on that. Our goal is to just progress. Any progress is good progress. As long as we progress every day, then we are happy to do so. So that's where we want to reach, to be able to know that every day we learn something new, every day. If there is one day that passes without us learning anything new about the Quran, that's a wasted day. Without learning anything about Allah, that's a wasted day. It's not going to be counted. But as long as we learn something, that day is beneficial to us. That's where we want to reach. So inshallah, with this journey of ours, we'll be able to reach that level of knowing, learning something new, and opening the Mus'haf and be able to actually understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is communicating to us. That's where we want to, inshallah, reach. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. And if not, we can begin our journey, inshallah, into understanding the Quran, the Arabic of the Quran better.
I have no questions.
Okay, good. Well, are you guys able to see my screen?
No.
Yes.
Yes or no?
No.
No? What about now?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, great. You are still able to see it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So our first lesson is going to be on the complete sentence. We want to know what a complete sentence is. So here are some examples. Can you guys read it to me?
Reading is fun. Real Madrid is the team to beat.
Real.
Real Madrid is the team to beat. 2020 is a year to remember.
Okay. Real Madrid it's in Spanish, so you are not supposed to read it Real Madrid, because that's because your mind is, you are reading English. But if you are reading in English, if you are reading a word in Spanish or in Arabic, you have to change your mind, switch your mind to know that, hey, I'm reading Arabic, I'm reading Spanish, I'm reading, and then use that same reading, the way they read, and read the same way. So those are complete sentences. Why are they complete? Because we are able to know what they mean without even having to add anything else to it. When I say reading is fun, it makes sense, right? When I say reading is that a complete sentence?
No.
Okay, so a complete sentence in Arabic is called a jumlatun mufida, which means a beneficial sentence. But in Arabic, there are three types of word that any sentence has to have, which are the ism, the fi'l, and the harf. So those three are never going to be missing from a complete sentence. There has to have one of those in those sentences. Any sentence that you see, you know there's going to be either an ism on there, a fi'l, a harf, or all of them at the same time, sometimes two, sometimes one, and sometimes, but never none of them. So as long as there is some Arabic that's written in the Quran, you know that it's composed of ism, fi'l, and harf, even if you don't understand it. So an ism is what we would say in English a noun. And these are just approximative definition, but they are not 100% accurate. Inshallah, as we move on, you will see the different properties of each of them. But for now, let's just say ism is a noun. And then the fi'l is a verb. The harf is a character or a letter sometimes. So ism, a noun, it can be either a person, it can be an animal, it can be a place, an object, an idea, an adjective, an adverb, or other things that we will inshallah get into as we go down the road. So can anybody give me some examples of ism, knowing that what I just said? It can be examples in English. It doesn't have to be in Arabic. We just want to understand what they mean. So you don't have to speak Arabic to be able to give me examples. If you can, good, mashallah, you can also give me those in Arabic. Examples
so
of a
just,
person?
huh? Sorry?
Examples of a person?
Do I just say a name?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Habib.
Yeah, that's an ism. What about an animal?
Cat.
A place?
The street.
Object?
Broom.
An idea?
A business. I'm not sure.
Addition.
What?
Addition.
Addition, yeah. Addition is an idea. An adjective?
An adjective.
Adjective, something that's used to describe.
Oh, amazing.
Okay. An adverb?
For pleasant, forced.
Forcefully is an adverb.
Forcefully.
Yeah. And all of those things that's ending in "li." So that's an ism. As you can see, it's not totally a noun like in English, but in Arabic, all of those are considered isms. So Muhammad, an animal, hisan, place, you can say Saudiya, object, all of those are considered isms. Fi'l, it could be a verb. The closer estimation that we can give is fi'l is a verb. So it's something that's going to occur either in the present or in the past or in the future. So can you give me any examples of a verb?
Moving.
Moving. That's more of an idea.
Jumping.
Even jumping is an action.
Playing.
You said a verb.
A verb, yes.
To
Jumping.
play.
To play, yes. To play is a verb. Played is a verb. Will play. Will sleep. But when we say playing, that's an action. The action of playing. So it's a little bit different from a verb. It's actually a noun. Because we say, I am here, and unless it's followed by any of the I will be playing, but just playing in general, playing is fun. So that's a noun. Playing is fun. The subject there is playing, and then is the verb, fun is the adjective. So I'm not here to teach you English, obviously, but yeah. And then harf is any word that doesn't make sense on its own. So if I say two, that doesn't make sense. Nobody says that. In, nobody says that on its own. From, you have to say, I am from Senegal, I am from Dubai, I am from America, and so on. But just on its own, from doesn't make sense. But playing, for example, which is a noun, you can say, what do you like? Playing. Makes sense. But harf in its own doesn't make any sense. Everybody got that?
Yes.
Can you give me an example of a harf?
Just okay. Play.
Play is a verb.
Yeah.
Yes, a verb is a fi'l, but a harf, it's a character or play. What do you like to do, Hadi? You can say play. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So it cannot be on its own ever. Otherwise, it makes no sense.
Oh, okay.
At, yes.
I like to walk.
What's the harf?
Sorry?
What's the harf in there?
Oh, to walk.
It can only be one word. One word.
Oh, walk.
What do you like to do? You can say walk. Then it's not a harf because you can use it on its own.
You can use walk on its own.
What do you like to do? When I say what do you like to do? Can you just reply with walk?
Yes.
Then it cannot be a harf because it can be on its own. A harf cannot be on its own. It can never be on its own. If it is on its own, it doesn't make sense. But walk can make sense even if it's on its own, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we say harf, usually there are those words, little words that connects things. For example, I like to jump. To cannot be on its own, can it?
No.
No.
So those are like to, from, in, those type of words. Usually those little, yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So can you give me an example?
I like to play.
You are giving me a sentence. It's a word.
Okay. I am from. Okay, from.
From. Yes, from
Yeah.
is a harf. So when I say a harf, we are just looking for one word. So we are just talking about the words here, not the sentence. Do you understand it?
Yeah.
Could you give me an example of another one to make sure that it's understood?
For.
Okay, good. So then these are the three components of Arabic: fi'al, ism, harf. Fi'al, ism, and harf. So it's not going to be outside of these three components ever. So whenever you look down into the Quran, these are the three types of word that you will find in there. It will not be outside of that. There is nothing else outside of these three. So inshallah, we know now what's a ism, a fi'al, and a harf. So for our upcoming classes, inshallah, we will give you tips and ways to easily recognize the components, which are fi'al, easily recognize a fi'al, easily recognize a ism and a fi'al. And also after that, we will have what's called the status, which is why a noun is, for example, where I said, sometimes you see Allahu, sometimes you see Allah, sometimes you say Allahi, right? So those are the status. So inshallah, we will talk about those as well. And the different types of sentences, how can a sentence be formed? And then we will focus on the status. That's going to be a huge chunk of our study. And inshallah, we'll move on from that. But for now, this was our introduction. If you have any questions about what we just talked about, feel free to ask me.
I have no questions.
Sorry, which one was the ism? Ism was the verb. The verb.
Ism is more closely to be the noun.
Okay.
Okay, and the fi'al is more like the verb, it's like the action, and the harf is a word that cannot be on its own. And inshallah, I will go ahead and send you the study sheet, and what we just covered in the lesson is all included in there, and you can revise it and then review all of the things we just talked about, the different type of components that a sentence have. And also there is a quiz at the end to make sure that you understood. I'll go ahead and send it to you after the class, inshallah. If you have any other questions, feel free.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time. وهذا السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. إلى اللقاء.
Wa alaikum salam.
Salam.